So as we're coming out of this Capricorn full moon, I recognize my shadow work. I'm struggling because things just seem so nice and easy for me, but like so many little things that have to be done, like I have to do them, and usually with people telling me that I'm doing everything the wrong way. And that's been a very long, arduous healing process. But at this point in my life, when I enter this amazing state of flow and I want to just bring people into the energy, like I just had a friend message me about running around last night to the point that they, forgot it was even the full moon, and they didn't do any sort of ritual, any sort of magic. And I think that's what we're lacking, is that community and that disconnection. Like the Christians go to church every day on Sunday at 10 a.m. And I think we're lacking that organization because we're trying to balance too many things, because we're walking with our feet in two worlds, and that's not really working. And that's the message that I keep intuiting, is that there are some things that you can choose both with, and there are some things that you need to choose one or the other. And part of the path of enlightenment, to live within alignment of your values, a lot of that does look like the ritual of cooking. What are you putting into your body? The ritual of somatic therapy, of yoga, of stretching. How are we moving our body? Are we showing up for ourselves? How are we showing up for ourselves every day, versus are we just showing up the same as we did yesterday, the same as the year before? And the last several years has definitely taught us that there is major shifts going on that are bigger than us, and taking control of that driver's seat, yet while surrendering to go with the flow. But the driver's seat are the things that we can control: how we show up, getting the dishes done, facing the fears, facing the anxiety, doing the fun thing, making doing the fun thing a higher priority, because when we don't, that stress builds. And finding that time to do the ritual, finding that time to be with your friends, to be in community, like don't keep inviting the same draining person over and having the same argument night after night after night. Like, that's a repetitive cycle. Break the cycles. That's what all of this is about. It's about breaking the cycles. It's about breaking free from those matrices, breaking free from the patterns, breaking the generational traumas, refusing to live as you've been taught. And that is living within alignment. And it's hard because that's the norm. And that's fine for all of those people, but when you're like, well, I rather think of being normal denotes a lack of courage. If you're in the practical magic mindset, as many of us are, opening up that awareness to what truly brings my soul joy. And some people live just fine. Like, stop worrying about this is me. This is talking to me too. Stop worrying so much about what other people are doing. Comparison is the thief of joy. I worry so much because, I feel like I'm a very sensitive person, but I also feel very, very strong. And those two things sometimes are within conflict of each other. But I think going through the healing process and coming out the other side, is going to be what's going to allow me to do better for me and how I show up in the future, which will hopefully be better for other people. And it's not staying in those past mindsets, and it is breaking free, and it is, stepping into my courage, and to not live in that state of anxiety, that fear matrix. I think the majority of my life at this point in time, it's like one financial crisis after another. I'm an elder millennial, Gen X cusper. I can read a map and go to a place without my phone sometimes, in the middle of the freaking woods, find this tubing place, oh yeah, 5 miles past this stoplight, let's go. Okay, look for a left turn, hopefully there's a sign. Hey, there's a sign, great, I know I've come to the right place, but we've been just so convinced and that you can't do it without GPS, and that's just not true. You know, like go with someone that knows the way. Go, you know, like yeah. We have become, and now we're moving into an era where I think a lot of people are becoming dependent on technology for thinking and for writing and for art and those creativity things. And it's one thing to have an assist, it's another thing to just let it do all of that for you. And there is a fine line between taking an easier road and taking a road that costs you nothing when there are back end costs. And there's not enough good information right now for me to have formed a super solid opinion about what's going on with the AI, the servers, the data centers, the evaporation of water. And I can't stay in that fair matrix. But what I know is that, like, I don't need it to summarize a sentence for me. I don't need it to write an email for me. I can just go into my sent folder and copy and paste from an old email I sent. And I usually have drafts for that purpose. So once I write something once, you know, like, I've got it. I don't need. So it's baffling to me how many people are using it for those simple things. And that's scary, because that is losing autonomy, in my opinion. But if that's what other people are doing, hopefully it's not at the detriment of this planet, which signs are pointing towards that it is. So I can't participate with that the same way. And I did ask a friend, you know, last year to make an AI image, because they're really good at it, you know, and they've been utilizing it. But it felt bad in my body to even ask to do that, you know. But like, I don't have the funds to pay an artist friend of mine, but I do have the time, and I should have sat down and done it better. So that's what my challenge is for the future, to take the time to plan further ahead, you know, to get the art done, even if I'm using, you know, paint and whatnot. So yeah, take back the driver's seat of what I can do with my time. And if that looks way more whimsy than everyone else's life, but it's working for me, my bills are paid, my living structures are secure, my mother is healthy, you know, like, then it's okay. And I don't have to live in that state of fear and anxiety of the what ifs of the future. But it's like, I am trying to find a better balance between, you know, actually trying to figure out some of the money matrix, and it's just not balanced. And I can accept that and still figure out how I can be more stable currently without plugging into those systems and feeling like I'm playing those games where I'm selling my soul for money. But money is a tool. So that's some of the shadow work that I'm doing, is changing my relationship with how I view money and how I use money. I do a lot with very little, and it's fan-freaking-tastic. And that brings me personal joy of feeling accomplished, and that's great for me. Not everyone can do that, especially when you've got like little kids, you know, that have needs. So it's different. So it's not comparison. And just because my life looks so different than so many others, it's not about comparison. It's not about comparison. So yeah, if I'm more designed to be the healer of healers, you know, the people out there on the front lines, like doing the hard work for, you know, molding younger children. I hung out with a bunch of teachers yesterday, and they're amazing people, and I've always admired them. But part of my life has been figuring out communication, but that's figuring out that I've been gaslit a lot because I've been told that I don't know what I'm talking about, because it's always been more intuitive. But as I have educated myself on these things, which it's really funny that the same people that were gaslighting me were the people that were very strongly against me getting a bachelor's in psychology. Yeah, I see that clearly now. At the time, I was just like, why are you discouraging me from going to school and finally getting my bachelor's? Like, this has been a long-term goal of mine. Now, some of them did have my interest, you know, some people are like, oh, you can't do much with a bachelor's in psychology, but like, I am learning how to help myself better, and learning and understanding how my brain functions and how I can work with my trains of thought, even though they're not typical. They're not neurotypical. I'm not neurotypical, if you can't tell by my hair, and and it's awesome though, because there is a collective consciousness. There is a mass awakening happening. So I know that I'm not alone, even though there's so many times where I feel very isolated. But through the same things of the internet, like, I'm learning how to connect, which I'm way behind the curve on that, because I always connected like in real life, and I still connect better in real life with those types of energies. That's okay. That's why I'm trying to create this amazing space to host people in, and do somatic therapy and do massage therapy. And that's my way of healing. And that's okay, even if it's not, like, trying to mold the minds of the youth. And by living in alignment with my values, by living in a state of peace, by living in a state of non-chaos, sometimes that allows other people to see that they can break away from those systems of, I do view them as systems of oppression. The fear matrix is absolutely designed to keep you in lizard brain, to keep you running around in circles, chasing your tail, even though it got chopped off years ago. Like, instead of just trusting the process that, oh, well, if I'm a lizard, that tail is going to regrow. And that's the phase that I'm at. I'm at that peaceful acceptance, like, all right, my tail is regrowing as long as I keep feeding my body healthy foods, and as long as I keep moving, like physical therapy, like movement is medicine. And I did used to be one of those ignorant people that I was like, oh, diet and exercise fixes everything. I've eaten that humble pie. I know that's not true anymore. But I do still think that the premise of it isn't inherently wrong. I just had to learn, this is my growth, I had to learn to better verbalize that there is a difference between medicine and food fixing everything, and medicine and food being medicine to help your body balance and fix things. If you're not giving your body the tools it needs to produce serotonin, to produce oxytocin, to produce dopamine, like, if we're just on this like little IV trickle, yeah, that's sustainable, but it's not fulfilling. So do the hard thing, do it anxious, do it afraid. That's the only way I have found for me to overcome that anxiety. I slept outside in the full moon last night, and I was really anxious about it. Like, I kept hearing these cars, and I'm in the middle of nowhere, back roads. Um, it's a dead end street, and there's 10 houses on this road, and it just sounded all freaking, for the first 2 hours, like there were cars, and I kept sitting up and like looking around to see if there were my motion lights in my driveway, which is like, up in the front yard, if the lights are going on and off, and all I could see was the light of the moon. And I'm just like, okay, we're safe. Like, just take a moment, like, observe my surroundings, take a few deep breaths, to be like, all right, there's not a car in my driveway. Like, is it odd that there were so many cars driving up and down the road, it seemed? Yes, but it's a full moon. Full moon's chaos. And I'm like, I do not invite that energy into my presence anymore. Like, tonight is a night of healing and letting go of these anxieties. So that's what I focused on. I focused on my breath, and I focused on getting back into my body, seeing that there's nobody in my driveway, and I'm good. I'm good right here, right now. So I laid back down, and I read a little bit more, and I stared up at the stars. And I was sad that the moon was at the front of the house instead of the back of the house. And the observation of how far and different the sun and the moon travels compared to where the house is in the open lights of the woods. And I think I'm a beach girl. I want the openness, the forest for me can be very dark and oppressive, but just being out there and just staying present in my body until my body gets back into that calm state, like, that's that's healing. That's, for me, it's exposure therapy. That's how I'm taking back control of those triggers. And the more I do it for something as simple as just literally staring into the darkness of the woods at night with all the noises for things that I cannot see. I cannot see out into these woods at night. But the little bit of light that I do have, and doing those healing things, you know, under a full moon aligns with my spiritual practices. And it's so interesting too, watching today, you know, the Capricorn and the sun in Cancer with the emotional, and the Capricorn's the opposite of that, the earth, the groundedness. And it's not lost on me how these things can help guide us, how to specifically utilize the energies that the universe is shifting, you know. And as we know, Mercury went into retrograde. I was born under Mercury in retrograde. I'm used to this chaos. But like, I was having crazy tech issues all freaking weekend, and I've been making videos and they're way too long, and I need to sit down and get everything offline and edit things and actually be a brave soul and put them online. So that's what's next for me, you know, sleeping outside to physically be brave, and now it's like time to mentally and emotionally be brave. And I think helping each other, you know, and having friends out here to sit with me in the darkness, you know, because I'm really good at like keeping an eye out for my friend, but sometimes I'm not good at just keeping an eye out for myself. I'll see those behaviors in other people and be like, hey, don't let those people treat you like that. I posted another short video on, you know, how to be your own best friend, and this is part of it. So some of us, especially a lot of feminine energy in this world, and there's plenty of men, I'm not excluding y'all. This is my experience, and I do see the majority of daughters that were raised to be caretakers. And yet at this time and place in society, we're shedding gender roles and moving into workspaces. But there's been 20, 30 years where, you know, like I know so many wives and mothers that are absolutely burnt out from running the home and having a full-time job. A lot of them are the breadwinners, but they also have spouses that are not handling that well, you know, because the man's supposed to be, you know. And even though the concept of shedding those gender roles, like they're still alive and well. And the divorce rate is just crazy, and the broken communities and the broken homes, and that is having an effect, you know. And I think a lot of it is not being able to have those honest conversations, but we're moving into an age of enlightenment. We're moving into an age where therapy is more and more and more accepted. And those are some of the spaces that I want to be a part of, and I'm excited about the next learning phases of my life, where hopefully I can take the knowledge and insight and actual practices that I have been leading myself on for the last year to see the progress, to see the work. And I definitely still have my bad days, but that's when I just sit up and I look for that light, and I know that I'm safe, you know. And it's ironic to me. It's, I guess the irony is not lost on me is a better way to phrase that, that for me, when those driveway lights were not on, meant I was safer. I was safer in my little tents in my backyard, in the beautiful safe space I've created. I do have a gate, you know, there are coyotes on the property. There was something that growled and pounced on something in the woods, not terribly far from the fence, but I'm on 30 acres in the woods in South Louisiana. Like, it's okay. I was safe. I was safe in my little nylon tent. It kept me safe from the bugs, you know, and like, so yeah, I had the fan if I needed it. It was good. And yeah, taking a moment to assess your surroundings to become present again, that's part of somatic therapy. That's, you know, part of what I'm practicing and teaching myself. So when I am becoming emotionally dysregulated, because that is the key thing with, I think, a lot of neurospiciness is emotional dysregulation, and trying to learn how to emotionally regulate yourself later in life, especially out of fear and anxiety, when we live in a matrix, you know, like we all know at this point in time, like if I say social media is intentionally emotionally dysregulating people, like there's lawsuits about that. You know, like the fact that people seem to have forgotten that Facebook literally put out a post, like it was like probably close to a decade ago now, you know, 'cause I signed up for Facebook in 2008 because I'm old, again, Gen X millennial cusp, you know, that they were like, oh yeah, we're putting like sad things on happy people's posts and happy things on sad people's posts to see if we can slowly affect their change in behavior. And it works. It does work. That's law of attraction, you know, and so that energy that you're surrounding yourself with, it does matter. It does matter a lot. And the energy I surround myself, and if I'm a sensitive person and I'm following a lot of things that are trying to teach me and I'm learning, you know, again, if I can get out of lizard reaction brain, taking in my environment with those trauma responses, you know, becoming hypervigilant, but instead of becoming hypervigilant, I simply become present. And that's a transition. That's the transition I'm teaching myself. Okay, wait a minute, you know, like, am I actually in danger? The lights are off. There's no one in my driveway. I can see around the yard well enough, you know, I look out and around. I do sleep armed, you know, because I'm outside by myself. So yeah, don't need it though, you know, and becoming present, and it's okay. And then I go and I lay back down and I take some deep breaths and I bring myself back into that state of calm. And those regulations, bringing yourself back into your body, that's what we need. And that's part of my purpose. That's what I'm here to help people reclaim, is that feeling of safety inside of your own body, especially when our bodies and minds have not been treated well by ourselves or by those around us. So it is relearning how to be your own best friend, and boundaries tell other people how you need them to show up for you, and the types of behaviors that you're not willing to be around anymore. If you want to, you can play Fox News in your own house, but if you want me to come and visit you in your house, I'm not going to be exposed to that. So my boundary is, like, if I'm over here, I don't want to watch Fox News. I'm over here to talk with you. So if you want to have Fox News on, okay, then I won't be there. That's the choice you made. You chose Fox News over my presence. And this is obviously a very personal story, and it is what it is. And I'm not going to fall into those propaganda traps. I'm not going to be exposed to them because I see them it's just a pitfall. It's just a psychic pitfall. And I'm not participating in that anymore. I want to build community. I can have those conversations with people in real life, but if everything you're quoting from me comes from one source, and I know that that source is nothing but propaganda, no thanks. You know, like, I will use my claircognizance, my intuition, to be like, you know, like, you're welcome to your opinions, but I don't have to just have these discussions with you. And if you can't respect that, then we're not going to have any discussions about anything then, you know, like, so yeah, that's a boundary. And enforcing boundaries has been the hardest part. And mourning the losses is a very real part of moving forward and growing, is the people that you do outgrow, and that's just your path. And it's not at all about being bigger or better. There's, you know, like, if you actually compare it directly to growth and the things, you know, like, there are tall trees in the forest versus short shrubs, and it's just about allowing yourself to grow to your potential, meanwhile allowing others to grow however they choose to grow for themselves. And you can choose if you want to grow in a garden with those same people or not. And that's the hard part. That's the hard part. But if there's one thing in that garden sucking up all the nutrients, like that's become unnatural. We now know about the mycelium network, and like if I grow like a little fungus and I have a short life and it's just like real crazy, like that's cool. But I'm part of that network, and that's the network I choose to be a part of, is reconnecting with nature and living a life that we have more reciprocity rather than transaction. And I'm still trying to find the balance of that, again, trying to change my relationship with money at the same time. And the resources in this world. And yeah, my most valuable resources is my time and attention, and so is yours. So what you spend your time and attention creates that law of attraction, So yeah, I want to create this amazing, cool, calm space for people to come and be present in nature, and to have a place for healing, to have a place where they can talk about these big things going on in their head, and leaving it behind, and having a safe space to sort through that, to try to have the detachment and perspective to get out of lizard brain, to get back into the thinking brain, to be like, is this serving me? What can I do about it? Let's make actionable plans. Let's figure out what steps to achieve whatever goal, and it's okay if, my healing is way more subtle, than an emergency room doctor. It's very different. It's very different. It's not a comparison. It's not a comparison. And I do think that if this world were very different, I think more people like me would have been like DOs, hello, I'm a gifted child of the 80s. My necklace, my crystals and witchy woo probably surprises you none, especially claiming that I'm neurospicy. I am formally undiagnosed neurospicy blends. And if our healthcare system wasn't the mess that it is, I would love to be diagnosed. But here we are, and I am seeking to get back into counseling as soon as I have some more financial stability. So it's all linked, but that's okay, because my self-counseling is going well. I'm happy to report. It's not always pretty. It's not, but man, when it's self-counseling, like sleeping underneath the full moon, even in June, I think it got down to 74 this morning. Like, it was pretty. It was under 80. It was not cool. There was not a breeze, but it was not very humid, so it was doable. It was a little moist, a little damp, but that's okay. I can deal with that, to be present in my body, because not everyone's healing journey looks the same. But some of the basis, food is medicine, movement is medicine, facing anxieties, but also, having someone to help you face anxieties, to not always have to be the trailblazer. And that's okay. So yeah, little intuitive messages for you this morning. Collective consciousness, you're on the right path, even though it's freaking, you need a machete to get through some days, like it's the path least traveled. There's so many poems and so many times over and over and over again, that the path less traveled is always, it's not gonna, that map is not, crap, that sign broke down, I missed the turn, like I went a little past it. It's like, okay, well now I realize I've gone past this place in the woods, so let me turn around and keep a better watch this time, and we'll find the turn. And having that determination and self-realization to, again, either stop and ask for directions, to be like, oh, I'm not on the right path anymore. Like we've strayed a little too far, so let's go find it. And that's the way it is sometimes. And, sometimes you're guided by someone who certainly seems like they know where they're going. And then you're like, oh, wait a minute, you don't. Okay. But the intention there is what matters. Is someone just, the whole like fake it till you make it, because there is some validity in that, like practice who you want to become. That's how neuroplasticity, that's how behavioral change happens, versus like this person is intending to lead me astray. And we have to be more astute about judgments like that versus perceiving. And that's been a hard part, because we have the heightened heuristics that we think everybody's out here to lead us astray, because there are too many influences out here right now leading us astray. But it is our choice what path to walk on. And even if it's like, man, this doesn't look like a path at all, but I know that I want to be over there. And okay, let's clear this path. There's too many mosquitoes to clear this path. And admitting that I can't do it by myself, that's a hard one. That is a hard one. I don't like that at all, admitting that I can't clear this path by myself sometimes. So yeah, sometimes you need help. And yeah, here we are. We're determined, and okay, I didn't make great progress today clearing this path, but you know what? I made good progress yesterday, and maybe today is just a day of rest to get my body present and out of survival mode. And to know that it's, I always wanted to hike part of the Appalachian Trail, but it was always like, I just want to be out there and do it for 3 weeks, not like a time challenge, not a distance challenge. And I think that is very saying about the way my mind works differently. And it just is in incredible alignment with the newer, and not newer, that's not the right word, with the collective consciousness and the awakening, that your progress does not have to look like everyone else's. And it's really hard because it does feel disjointed. And there's lots of people that are still outside of my life telling me that I'm doing everything wrong. And I slept in a tent outside in the woods last night, and I am enjoying this beautiful space. So for me right now, like, it doesn't look very wrong. So it's very peaceful. And peaceful for me is just so unfamiliar that just because it's unfamiliar does not mean it's bad, and just because it's familiar does not mean it's good. And reteaching myself that every time I'm like, wait, is this peace and calm, or is this lack of productivity? And who's telling me I have to be productive? Because there's a lot of people that told me that I was plenty productive enough, that it's like, right now I've done enough. I'm good. I'm safe here. I'm secure. And I need to lean into that safety and security that I've created for myself, with others, within community, how I show up. And yeah, I'm ready to expand. And here we are. I'm ready to start putting these things out there and owning that power. And of course, yes, I am a hippie chick with oracle tarot decks and things. Heck yes. But that's my path. And if that's not for you, then that's okay. Like, if my words aren't making any freaking sense, that's okay. It's not for you. Everybody's path looks different. And, like wearing my rose quartz of heart healing, to try to open that up, because people have weaponized my own love against me, and tried to take more than I was offering, even after I told them no. And that's okay. Those people aren't a part of my life or world anymore. And I am safe now, here in my own body. And I will handle whatever this world throws at me, even if it just means I need to sit up and take a breath and handle it. So you can too. So yeah, take care of yourself. And I I do think a lot of change needs to happen in this world. That change, the only thing you can change is yourself, and that can impact your environment. And creating that environment is what I've done. And yeah, so here we are. Come hang out, come get out a survival road with me, come explore and have conversations judgment-free about collective consciousness and awakening and Jungian psychology. And I'm ready. I'm ready. I am, after a very frustrating weekend just trying to get online to take some courses about somatic therapy to start actually guiding people within movement, because I needed a more structured thing on that. Like, I need to get yoga certified instead of just saying, you know, like, that's some of the next steps for me. And okay, I'm 46 now, and I'm going to get yoga certified so I can start teaching. And I need to just step out of that fear zone, because I allowed the fear matrix to pull me off that path multiple times, you know. So here we are. We're going to do it. Do the thing. Do it scared. That's what lots and lots and lots of these, you know, like, messages come through. It's like, you know, sometimes we have to do it scared, or, you know, find the right people to ask for help, and they'll come. If you build it, they will come. A little neurodivergent Gen X humor there. So treat yourself like your own best friend. Show up for yourself. And the more you show up for yourself in that way, it raises that vibration, you know, when that intent, when that execution is in alignment, then the outcome usually follows and flows. So yeah, love yourself, and that will start that chain reaction of creating a more loving environment around you. And that's what this is about. Sometimes it's about the journey, it's about the exploration and the adventure, and it is about the togetherness, and it is about love, experiencing the joys of being here, not just the sorrows. Sense or perspective, that's all those things are here to provide, and that's okay. So, yep. Bye.